In every neighborhood, there's that one kid everyone remembers, except no one actually does. They play alone, they never grow up. And if you ever try to take their picture, you'll forget you ever existed. This is the story of the child who never aged, and the one boy who tried to uncover her secret. A child who never grows older. Every evening, as the sun dipped behind the crooked rooftops of Maplewood, children from the neighborhood would gather on the empty field beside the old church. Their laughter echoed against the cracked walls and the rustling trees, carrying a warmth that briefly fought off the chill of twilight. It was a routine, one that made the small town feel alive. But among those familiar faces, there was one child who never truly belonged. No one could recall when she first appeared. Perhaps she'd always been there. She was small, maybe 7 years old, wearing a faded yellow dress and a ribbon tied around her wrist, the color drained almost white from time. Her eyes were wide and empty, not lifeless, but far too still for a child. She played alone, always alone, her movements deliberate, as if repeating a game she'd played 1,000 times before. At first, no one noticed her strangeness. She'd be seen sitting by the swings or skipping stones across the dry pond. The kids assumed she belonged to someone else's family. The adults never mentioned her, as though she was invisible to them. But one evening, when a new family moved into the neighborhood, their son, Ethan, pointed at her and asked, "Who's that girl?" The rest of the children fell silent. They looked where he pointed, saw the little girl in yellow smiling faintly at them, and then turned away in confusion, brushing off a shiver they couldn't explain. Later, when Ethan asked again, they frowned as if the question itself hurt to think about. "What girl?" they said, and the moment passed like a shadow swallowed by dusk. From that day, strange whispers spread around the field. Kids spoke of seeing her reflection in puddles even when she wasn't there. Some swore they heard a skipping rope tapping behind them at night, even when the playground was empty. Parents began forbidding their children from staying out after dark, though none could say why. And still, every evening, the girl returned, silent, watching, her pale eyes glinting under the dim streetlight. Time moved forward. The children grew taller, voices deepened, faces changed. But the girl in the yellow dress never aged, never left, never blinked when someone dared to meet her gaze. Years slipped by like dead leaves in the wind. The children who once played on that field had become teenagers, burdened with school and restless dreams. Only the girl in yellow remained unchanged. Some nights, from their bedroom windows, they'd glimpse her still standing near the old swing set, motionless, as if waiting for someone. Curiosity, as it often does, grew into obsession. One autumn evening, Ethan, now 16 and bold with the arrogance of youth, decided to prove the legend wrong. He brought his father's old camera, a bulky relic with a silver flash, and told his friends, "We'll take her picture, then everyone will know she's real." The night was colder than usual. The trees whispered against the wind, and the faint chime of the church bell echoed from afar. The group gathered near the swings, breath visible in the air. And there she was, the girl swaying lightly as if caught between worlds. Ethan lifted his camera. Through the lens, her form flickered, hazy like smoke, her eyes reflecting the flash before it even came. He pressed the button. The shutter clicked, the flash burst, then silence. The girl turned her head toward them, slowly, her expression hollow yet knowing. One of the boys whispered, "Did she just smile?" They ran back home, hearts pounding, half laughing, half terrified. Ethan clutched the camera tightly, excitement bubbling in his chest. But when he developed the film the next morning, the photograph showed only the field, empty, silent, and cold. No girl, no swings, not even the faintest trace of anyone who'd been there. Only a strange blur near the bottom corner, shaped like a child's hand pressed against glass. By the following week, Ethan's friends couldn't remember that night at all. When he tried to bring it up, they stared blankly, insisting he was mistaken. One even swore he hadn't gone out that evening. Ethan felt something wrong inside him, like a hole in his memories that grew each time he tried to fill it. The photo sat on his desk, curling at the edges, and sometimes, when the house was quiet, he could swear he heard the faint click of a camera shutter coming from inside his closet. Ethan's curiosity turned into quiet obsession. The more people denied remembering the girl, the more he needed to prove she existed. Late one evening, he found himself drawn to the old church by the field, the one whose bell no longer rang. Its doors were swollen with age, creaking open with a sound that reminded him of bones snapping. Inside, the air was thick with dust and forgotten hymns. The floorboards groaned under his steps, and cobwebs hung like thin, gray curtains between the pews. He searched for anything that could explain who the girl was: baptism records, photographs, even a name. Deep in the back of the church, behind a warped wooden door, he found a stack of water-damaged ledgers, their pages brittle and yellow. He flipped through them by flashlight until one entry made his hands tremble. It was dated October 12, 1958, almost 40 years before any of them were born. Beside a blurred black and white photograph was a name: Clara Wren, age 7. The note below read, "Disappeared during evening play near the churchyard. Presumed dead. No body recovered." The picture, it was her. The same yellow dress, the same ribbon, the same hollow eyes that had followed him through the lens weeks ago. Only this time, her faint smile looked more like a warning. A chill rippled through Ethan. He snapped the book shut and turned to leave, but the air had changed. The church was colder now, darker, the silence heavier. From the far corner, near the altar, came the sound of something tapping, slow, rhythmic, like a skipping rope hitting the floor. Ethan froze, his flashlight flickering weakly. "Hello?" he whispered. No answer, just the soft creak of the swing outside, moving on its own. He ran. The church doors slammed behind him with a thunderous crack, and the wind cut through his jacket like knives. The field was empty again, except for the faint outline of small footprints in the dirt, leading not toward home, but back into the shadows near the swings. He followed them for only a second before they vanished, as if the earth itself had swallowed them whole. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The photograph lay face down on his nightstand, and the whispers from the field seemed to crawl through his open window. He dreamed of the girl in yellow, standing by the swings, her face turned toward him, her lips mouthing words he couldn't hear. When he woke, the clock read 3:03 a.m., and a faint tapping sound echoed down the hall. His heart pounded as he got up, clutching his flashlight. The sound came from his living room. The front door was wide open, cold air spilling in, and right outside, in the middle of the empty street, the girl stood waiting, her ribbon fluttering in the wind. "Clara," Ethan whispered before realizing he had spoken her name. She tilted her head, that same eerie smile stretching across her pale face. Why are you here?" he asked. Her voice, when it came, was no louder than the rustle of dead leaves. "I never left." Then she turned and began to walk toward the field, her bare feet silent on the asphalt. Against every instinct screaming inside him, Ethan followed. The neighborhood was still, the streetlights flickering as he passed beneath them. When they reached the swings, the air was thick with fog. The church loomed in the distance, its cross half broken. She stopped and looked at him, eyes glinting faintly. "Do you remember me?" she asked. Ethan's throat tightened. "No, I don't." Her smile widened, and she stepped closer, the smell of damp earth filling the air. "They never do." A sudden wave of dizziness hit him. The world blurred, spinning around her small frame. Her hand reached up to his chest, cold as ice, and the world went black. When the sun rose, the field was empty again. No one noticed Ethan was gone. His parents remembered a son named Eli, but not Ethan. The kids returned to play as they always had, laughter echoing across the field. And among them, a new face joined the games. A quiet boy in a faded blue jacket. He looked about 7 years old, with eyes that didn't quite blink, and a faint yellow ribbon tied around his wrist. The girl in the yellow dress was gone, but the curse remained.